Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have another brand new 2020 Nanmu figure to take a look at today that has just arrived, and it is their beautiful looking Apatosaurus figure. This is yet another very highly anticipated Nanmu figure, especially for me as I am a huge fan of Apatosaurus and sauropods in general, and we just don't get too many really nice sauropod figures out there nowadays, so having Nanmu create an Apatosaurus was something I was extremely interested in, especially with how highly detailed and beautiful their figures usually are. As far as the box art, you can see a really nice image of the Apatosaurus right here on the front of the box, as well as, of course, the Nanmu logo. Pretty much your standard Nanmu box as far as how they usually look. The alternate paint variant just has pretty much the same image, but in reverse. And you can see again the Apatosaurus looks gorgeous right here on the front of the box. As far as the rest of the box goes, it's pretty much just your standard Nanmu box with all the usual Nanmu information. So let's just take the box out of the way here. Now I actually have my figures out of the box already because I took them out prior to this to prepare for the review because I had seen images showing you that the Apatosaurus comes without its tail connected, and I wanted to connect the tail of my Apatosaurus first so that I could have it ready here for the review. And it is in fact true, the Apatosaurus does come with its tail disconnected, and I wanted to kind of glue mine on and everything so that it looked as good as possible for the review, of course, and show you how nice it looks. And I didn't do any type of alterations or anything to it. I literally just glued it on, and that was it. So you'll see how nice it looks here in a minute once the tail's actually glued on. But as far as what else is included, first of all, we have this absolutely gorgeous looking card that comes with kind of like hand-drawn images of the Apatosaurus. And I am a huge fan of these. Every single time Nanmu releases a figure and we get one of these kind of cards with some beautiful artwork on them, I am super drawn to them and really enjoy these cards being included continuously. A little different than usual, though. You can see some information here on the back that unfortunately I cannot read, but they actually give you two cards this time. Normally on the back of the kind of drawing type of an art card, you get this type of an image, the really nice color image, and this time we have something a little different here. And you can see the Apatosaurus looks beautiful here on the card itself, the art card that is included. A really nice, very majestic looking color image of an Apatosaurus walking along. This actually looks, it's like a brownish color, so this is kind of like the alternate paint variant as opposed to the main version, which is the Jurassic World style color scheme. We also have what appears to be maybe a few compies down here as well, so fingers crossed maybe Nanmu will make a compy at some point, although I think they'd have to make them a bit larger as opposed to having them all in scale, since the Nanmu compy would be extremely tiny. But really awesome art cards as usual from Nanmu. I absolutely love that they include those. And then we have our human character. Now this time, the human character is a human character that you don't see get figures ever. We have Dr. Wu. It's a little hard to actually see him as usual because of the very bright coloration of these human figures, but it is definitely Dr. Wu. We will try to take a closer look at him then when we get the closer look at the Apatosaurus. But as far as the Apatosaurus goes, here is the very first kind of standard version, the regular release, and then here is the alternate color variant, the brownish version. And I can tell you here in person, both of these are just unbelievable as far as the sculpt and paint included. I am just honestly blown away by both of them. When I first got them out of the box and just took a look at the head sculpt, it was just like a moment of shock and awe at how gorgeous the head sculpt of the Apatosaurus is. I feel like a lot of companies kind of put a lot of work into the bodies of their sauropods, but then when they get to the head sculpts, they don't always look all that great. But as far as this Apatosaurus goes, I feel like the head sculpt is beautiful, and you'll see exactly how beautiful here in a moment, but also just really perfectly matches up to the head sculpt of the Apatosaurus from Jurassic World. So as usual, Nanmu is just killing it here with every single release, and this one is absolutely no different. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at these right now. Now I think we're actually going to take a look at, as far as the sculpt of the figure goes, we're going to take a look at the alternate paint variant, the brownish version, because I think this is my favorite of the two, and I really think that it shows off the sculpt beautifully. But look at how gorgeous that head sculpt of the Apatosaurus is, and how beautifully they've brought out every single detail that could possibly be included in the head sculpt of this Apatosaurus. It truly looks like it has life to it. It genuinely looks like a real living, breathing dinosaur's head right here in front of me. And again, it is just insanely nicely done as far as the detail goes. You've got like a really nice kind of dry brushing over top of the head with a nice darker coloration that, again, brings that detail out in beautiful fashion. You can see the nostrils sculpted out up there. Really nicely sculpted out mouth, and it's defined with like a darker coloration within the mouth. Nice wrinkles right here behind the mouth area, and again, the detailing of the face is just off the charts. Look at the beautiful detail here around the eye socket area, and the eyes, as far as the paintwork goes, are just gorgeous. I don't know if they applied that with a decal or if that's paint, but it is just off the charts beautiful and absolutely perfect in every way. I think it's a decal. It just looks so good, and you can see it's given a very nice glossy appearance, so it insinuates eye shine and the glossy look of a real living eye perfectly. If we take a look at the top of the head, again, really, really nicely done. The skin texture is just incredible on this. Even here on the underside, look at that beautiful skin texture and detailing there in the throat region. If my camera would focus a little better on it, there you go. You can see, again, so much color variation as well. Many different tones of color included on this figure. As we start to move down into the neck, lots and lots of skin creasing going on. Just tons of skin creasing throughout this very large neck of the Apatosaurus, and that continues to run down the entire course of the neck. Again, having a very nice and wide appearance to the neck, and actually having a very similar appearance to the Dinosauria sideshow, which is really nice because a lot of people were not able to get that because, again, that was a very expensive statue from many years ago. So having this much more affordable version of an Apatosaurus that is just as highly detailed and beautifully painted with a very similar appearance, I think, is something that should appeal to most collectors. And again, as we move down the neck, you can see, again, so much paint variation, lots of different tones of browns, like darker and lighter browns, almost yellowish browns in certain areas. You can see up here on the top, we have a very nice dry brushing, again, with like that black that runs along the top of the neck the whole way down, and that creasing in the skin continues to look gorgeous, as does the detailing down here on the underside of the neck, which transitions to a nice lighter kind of a creamy coloration. Beautiful sculpt and detail right there in the chest region as well. Once we get back here into the actual main body of the animal, you can continue to see how nicely done like the spinal column is as far as the way it's elaborated up there on the top of the dinosaur. And again, really bringing the detail out with a very nice dry brushing up there. You can perfectly see the really nice shoulder blade kind of protruding from the skin. Again, some really nice movement shown here in the skin texture and the skin wrinkles and everything of the stomach region leading off of the leg as this leg is pulling forward and stretching that skin. You can also generally see how nice and muscular that front leg is. Very nice creasing right here in the joint of the elbow area. You can actually make out the elbow back there. Very nice foot sculpt on our Apatosaurus. We do have that beautifully painted nail over there, giving a nice little dry brushing. It's kind of hard to pick up on. I'll actually show you here on this one, just because that nail is kind of hard to get to. Considering how long this dinosaur is, he's almost hard to get into frame, but you can see it right there. It's perfectly painted on each of the feet and really nicely displayed right there, beautifully sculpted as well. The foot sculpt in general looks really, really nice. Coming back up into the stomach, again, look at all the really nice skin texture all over the figure. It is just insanely nicely done as far as that skin texture goes. You can see the skin kind of leading off of the leg right there as well. Very nice sculpt and detailing. You would expect that to be happening, especially with the legs spread apart right there. It would be stretching the skin nicely on both sides here. Really nice detailing the whole way up in the stomach region of the Apatosaurus. The skin texture just looks beautiful. And as we get back here, you can again see some more of that dry brushing that they've done, bringing that detail out perfectly, as well as really nice skin wrinkling going on right there, again showing some of the movement of the dinosaur. You can also pick up on the hip bone, a few osteoderms here and there. Very nicely defined musculature in the leg as far as the thigh and calf region. The kneecap is present here in the front of the leg. Beautiful color variation as we move down the body as well. You can see like some nice striping throughout the stomach. Same deal here on the legs. And then we get down here into that really nice foot sculpt, beautifully painted nails. The foot sculpt overall is just really, really nicely done. You can kind of see the foot just starting to leave the ground as it's starting to take a step. That's very nicely displayed there in the sculpt. And the skin texture continues to look great as we move out into the tail. Now here is actually the area where you connect the tail right here, so you can sort of see a seam. I actually think it looks pretty good, honestly, with the way I've done it here, but you'll see when I turn it around, the other side is almost non-existent as far as picking up on it, and actually once you move it away a little bit, you don't really notice that at all. So I really recommend anybody that gets the Apatosaurus to actually glue the tail on. I think it just looks generally a lot better once it's glued on. But you can continue to see really nice skin texture, skin detail the entire way out the tail with some more nice striping similar to what we had seen up on the neck. And then the tail looks very nice, very whip-like. As we run out the length of the tail, you can see it's super long, and the skin texture looks beautiful the entire way out. Very, very large figure. Definitely the biggest Nanmu figure so far is this Apatosaurus. So if we take a look at the opposing side, again, the head sculpt is beautiful. The eyes are painted perfectly. You can see all the detail brought out in wonderful fashion as far as that kind of dry brushing that they've done. And again, it just looks like it has so much life to it and so much peacefulness, I guess you could say, just like the Apatosaurus kind of is sort of displayed in the films as being very peaceful. You can really kind of get the sense of that just looking at the head sculpt of this figure. And as we move down into the neck, again, really nice skin detail the entire way down and lots of creasing in the skin. You can actually see the throat here as we run down the length of the neck, that very long Apatosaurus neck, the beautiful dry brushing up here on the top. And again, once we get into the body, you can now see some more creasing going on right here, as well as some nice dry brushing. The legs on this side are pushing into the body, so you don't see that skin stretching. You kind of see the skin bunching up. A lot more on this side as opposed to what we had seen on the previous side. More beautiful skin texture in the stomach region. Again, lots of movement just being shown right here with the kind of wrinkles and everything in the skin. You can see the shoulder blade and the very nicely defined musculature here of the front leg. Very, very muscular looking for sure. Moving back up here, you can see the hip bone. Again, some more beautiful creasing right there. Very nice muscle tone in the thigh. A really nice skin detail right here as far as the leg kind of stretching the skin off of the tail. You can see the kneecap again. Very nice foot sculpt back here as well as the front actually. I didn't really say that before. Detailing on the underside is gorgeous. I did want to point that out. You can see how beautiful that looks, again, with like the skin stretching off of the body and bunching up in certain areas where it should be, stretching where it should be. It really looks very, very good. Very nicely sculpted out detailing again in the tail right there as far as the kind of skin wrinkling and skin folding. And again, over here, you don't really almost take note to that seam at all. Now that I've glued it, I think I got this side pretty good, so you can really see how nice that looks right there. And again, we lead out that very, very long and whip-like tail that just looks incredible. And you can also see kind of like some ridges that run along the back of the dinosaur starting around the hip area. But this Apatosaurus is just off the charts beautiful and definitely one of the best Nanmu figures yet. And then here is the alternate version. This is actually more of the standard version as far as the Apatosaurus goes, because this has more of like the Jurassic World style paint scheme. So you can see it's a very dark, almost like a darkish green, pretty much, but you don't see quite as much kind of like color variation on this one as you see on the brownish version. And I think the flashiness of the brown version is kind of why I like that one a little bit better. But as far as a Jurassic World style Apatosaurus, this is picture perfect as far as I'm concerned, and just looks pretty much exactly like the dinosaur looks in the film in every possible way. It is insanely beautiful and very accurate as far as what I can recall from the dinosaur in the film. And again, as we move down the neck, we already looked at the sculpt, so we don't have to look at the sculpt again. It's exactly the same sculpt, just a different paint job. But you can see some really nice darker greens, some lighter coloration here on the underside of the dinosaur. And as we move down the neck, you can see a nice striping. It's almost kind of faint, but it's really nicely shown as far as the paintwork, and lots of different variations of green, honestly, throughout the neck. And then when we get to the underside, you can see the striping continues, but we have a little bit of a creamier color here, like a light khaki on the underside. And then moving back into the body, you can continue to see almost like a striping effect up here on the top as well. So you can see how nicely done that looks. It's like a very dark green as opposed to like this little bit of a lighter green. And the majority of the dinosaur is actually really quite dark, but you can actually see a lot of really nice color variation put into this. As far as the paint jobs go, these are just off the charts. Of course, everything is pretty much off the charts as far as this figure goes, but you can see again exactly how it looks, just like the Jurassic World version. Very nice dark greens that run down both legs, and then a nice lighter kind of a khaki color in the stomach region, and then the underside as well. Very, very beautiful looking. And then you see those stripes kind of pick back up here in the rear of the dinosaur on the tail, and you can see how nicely they look as we run out the length of the tail, and they kind of start out with like a very dark green and then transition to a brown type of a striping. And you can see that if we look at the underside that it now looks like a brown as opposed to that darker green. But if we look up here at the top, you can now see that darker green as opposed to the brown. And now the tail is almost non-existent as far as the seam where I connected it to goes on this one. It definitely matched in really well. And then looking at the opposing side, again, you can see how nicely done that striping is down the neck and the really nice variations of green included. Absolutely gorgeous paintwork on this one as well. Very nice dark greens all over the body. Again, that khaki color. And you can actually see a little bit of different color variation in that area as well. And then we move back into the striping back here again, starting out with a darker green, transitioning to a nice brown here on the underside as we move out the length of that very nice, very long whip-like tail. So I can definitely say with complete confidence that as far as these Apatosaurus figures go, whether you're looking for a very nice Jurassic World-inspired figure, this is perfect. If you're looking for a more colorful version, the alternate version is perfect. Both incredible, incredible Apatosaurus figures. And then as far as Dr. Wu goes, you can kind of get a little bit of a better idea as far as what he looks like here. Again, the sculpt looks really nicely done, pretty much perfect as far as I can tell, but again, the paint is just kind of drowning the detail out, so I think I'm definitely going to be painting some of these soon. I know I say this every single time, but I'm really going to get to it soon to see how nicely done the Nanmu figures are with paint on them, but I really am psyched to have a Dr. Wu figure included because that's just something that I can't ever recall any company releasing before, so that's super awesome on the part of Nanmu. As far as a size goes, actually let's flip it around here. It is very, very big, so we'll measure actually to the tip of the tail, which again is very far out here, so it's a very, very big dinosaur. Cannot stress that enough. As far as the price being in the $100 range, that is insane for something as nice and as large as this. But for a length, you are looking at about 30 inches, actually a little bit higher, almost 30.5 inches. It's kind of tough for you to see that actually from your position, but about 30.5 inches for a length. 77 centimeters. As far as a height goes, you are looking at about 6¾ inches or about 17 centimeters for a height. So incredibly large figure for sure. As far as a size comparison goes, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Golovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Nanmu Apatosaurus, who is so large we can't even actually get fully into frame, and you can see that next to these figures it is absolutely massive and really overshadows all three of these figures in both beauty and size. And for one more comparison, here is the Nanmu Spinosaurus next to the Nanmu Apatosaurus. I don't want to do a million comparisons here just because I don't want the video to drag on too long, as it's already pretty long to begin with reviewing a Nanmu product. There's always a lot to go over. But if you would like to see more comparisons of these figures, let me know who you would like to see compared to as far as Nanmu figures go, and I will potentially put those images up on my Instagram or in the community section of this channel. But next to the Spinosaurus as well, you should have a very good idea of the immense size of this Apatosaurus. So this Nanmu Apatosaurus is just beautiful in every possible way. There is not a single complaint that I could possibly come up with, no matter how hard I tried, for this Apatosaurus. The sculpt is gorgeous. There is just insane amounts of detail included in the sculpt of this figure. In every area, there is just so much detailing. It is completely sculpted to the max, to the point where I don't think, even if you tried, you could find anywhere to include any more detail in this figure than we already see present on it right here. The detailing and sculpt department is just off the charts. And as far as accuracy goes, looking like a Jurassic World Apatosaurus, that too is off the charts. I think it is perfect as far as every area of the figure goes to really look exactly like the Apatosaurus did in Jurassic World, especially when you take into comparison the head sculpt there and kind of the image of the head sculpt from Jurassic World and how the two play together, where that Apatosaurus was attacked by the Indominus and was passing away. You can really see just how perfectly portrayed the head sculpt here of the Apatosaurus is in comparison to the way it looked in the film. Again, just accuracy is off the charts as far as this figure goes. As far as the paint job goes, it, as well, as far as I'm concerned, looks picture perfect. The Jurassic World version of this looks just like it did in the film as far as I'm concerned, and I think they've done a very good job as far as portraying very realistic and natural tones of color throughout the entire body of this figure, and really giving it an extremely lifelike paint job. And again, it is modeled after the Jurassic World version, so it looks pretty much exactly how it did in the film as far as the paint scheme goes. As far as the alternate version, which is actually my favorite of the two, just because, again, I love the browns that they've used on the figure, and the really nice kind of somewhat flashy appearance to the figure overall is just very appealing to me and very striking to the eyes. I think it's just absolutely gorgeous as far as that paintwork goes, and both include so many different variations of color that when you actually have it in person and you're taking a look at it, you again just are almost in awe at the overall beauty of both the sculpt and the paint job, because everything is about as top-notch as it gets when it comes to a dinosaur figure. And then of course we have a ridiculously large size to it. Again, being an Apatosaurus, you would want it to be very large, as Apatosaurus was a very large dinosaur. But again, having a large sauropod like this is just the best as far as I'm concerned, because we don't get too many as far as large sauropod figures, and when we do, we don't always get them that look as good as these do. So these two Apatosaurus figures are extremely high recommendations from me, and if you would like to pick these up, I will include a link in the description to Dan's Dinosaurs, where you can go ahead and do that right now. Trust me, you would never in a million years regret picking either of these up. So make sure after the video is over, you check that description, go buy yourself some Nanmu Apatosaurus figures, and make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.